I was using Craigslist to sell some of my old, unused stuff as I prepared to move out in the next few months. I needed to sort through what I wanted to keep and what I didn't. That's when I came across my old motor tools. They were high quality and still worked perfectly, but I had upgraded to battery-powered ones not too long ago. Since I had no use for them anymore, I took a few pictures and listed a power drill, driver, and a matching tool set for $80. Given their condition, it was a great deal. It didn't take long to get responses. Within an hour, I received 2 emails. One person asked if I'd take $50, but I politely declined. The other was eager to buy them that same night for the full price. I agreed and told him I'd be available at 5 for pickup. I never let buyers into my house when selling things. I always met them in my driveway, where the street was well trafficked, making it less risky. As usual, I planned to stand outside with the items before 5 to make the transaction quick. But just after 4:30, there was a knock at the door. Looking out, I saw a man standing there, his red car parked in my driveway. I cracked the door open and asked who he was. He said he was there for the tools and admitted he was early. I told him to wait in his car since I wasn't expecting him yet. He hesitated, making things feel awkward, but then turned around and walked back. Once I gathered the tools, I met him at the driveway. I had an outdoor outlet for testing, and he seemed satisfied with them. "How about 20? He asked, holding the drill. The deal was 80. "I can go a little lower, but 20 is too low," I said, trying to be polite despite my annoyance. He had agreed to 80, and now he was trying to rip me off. Without another word, he set the drill down, turned away, and drove off. I was frustrated, feeling like I had just wasted my time. I brought the tools inside and moved on with my night, thinking it was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Or at least, that's what I thought. A couple of hours later, I passed by the front window and noticed a familiar red car parked a few houses down. Looking closer, I saw it was empty, and I told myself it was just a coincidence. Another hour passed. I was making food and watching TV when there was a knock at the door. My stomach dropped, but I ignored it, hoping whoever it was would leave. 30 seconds later, another knock. "Hey, it's me." I decided I'll take the tools. "I brought the money," a voice called from the other side of the door. I didn't believe him for a second. My mind pieced it together. He had been parked outside my house, waiting. I stayed silent and called the police, giving them his name and a description of his car. He knocked again, calling out a few more times before going quiet. A minute passed, then another. I wasn't sure what to do. The police were already on their way, so I felt somewhat safe. I crept toward the window by the door to check outside. Then, something slammed against the side of my house with a heavy thud. Leaves rustled, followed by the sound of footsteps running away. I looked out just in time to see him limping toward his car. That's when the police pulled up, stopping him before he could escape. He admitted to everything. His plan was to rob me, but because I hadn't let him inside, it made things difficult. He had tried to climb a tree by my house to jump onto the roof, but he missed, slamming into the side and injuring his leg. What shook me the most was what I realized afterward. He had a knife on him, and the roof he tried to jump onto was just under my second-story window. A window that, when I checked, was unlocked. He claimed it was only an attempted robbery, but who knows what he really had planned. I stopped using Craigslist, and even now, I lock every single window in my house, even the ones I once thought were unreachable. Years ago, I used Craigslist to find a room for rent. I was searching for a place where I could split the rent with a roommate or two. It took about a week before I found a listing that seemed like the perfect fit. After exchanging several phone calls with the owner, I felt confident about moving in. He introduced himself as Aaron, a guy around my age who seemed friendly and easygoing. We got along well over the phone, and he gave me all the details about the house. Everything sounded great, and I was excited to start this new chapter. I didn't have much to bring with me, so I packed everything into my car and made the 30-minute drive to my soon-to-be home. The location was a little more isolated than I expected, set outside of town in a wooded area with a long driveway leading far from the main road. But the real surprise came when I pulled up. The house itself was old, much older than I had imagined. It had a weathered wooden exterior that looked like it had been standing for over a century. I hesitated for a moment, but then I reminded myself that the interior photos had looked much more modern. Maybe they had only renovated the inside. Aaron greeted me at the door and gave me a tour. Sure enough, the interior was the complete opposite of the exterior, clean, modern, and well kept. It looked just like the photos, which was a relief. I quickly decided I liked the place and moved my things in that night. For the first few days, everything went smoothly. It didn't even feel like I had found this place on Craigslist. It felt like I was just living with a friend. Aaron worked in town and was gone most of the day, while I worked from home and had the house to myself. Well, most of it. There was one door in the house that was always locked. I didn't ask about it at first. It wasn't my business, and I figured it was just a storage closet. But there was something about it that made me curious. It was an old wooden door with a single deadbolt, and it stood out against the rest of the house. What bothered me more was that Aaron had never mentioned it. He had told me the house was a one-story home. He never said anything about a basement. One day, while Aaron was at work, curiosity got the best of me. I walked up to the locked door and pressed my ear against it. Silence. I figured there was no harm in checking the outside of the house to see if there were any basement windows. But after circling the perimeter, I found nothing. No windows, no vents, no signs that a basement even existed. That night, as I lay in bed, scrolling through my phone, I heard it. A dull thud. The sound came from somewhere in the house, but not from Aaron's room. It came from behind the locked door. I held my breath and listened. A few seconds later, there was another noise. A slow, scraping sound, like furniture being dragged across the floor. A chill ran down my spine. Someone was in there. The next morning, I decided to test something. While Aaron was getting ready for work, I casually asked, "Hey, is there any storage space in the house? I was thinking of putting some stuff away." He barely looked up before answering. "Nah, not really. We don't have a basement or attic, so storage is kind of limited." His response made my stomach drop. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at my bedroom door, straining to hear anything. Then, just past midnight, the noises started again. This time, it wasn't just thuds and scraping. This time, I heard whispering, soft, hushed murmurs, too quiet to make out, but definitely there. My breath caught in my throat as I heard something worse. 3 slow, deliberate knocks from behind the locked door. I nearly ran straight out of the house right then and there, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had to get out of here. The next morning, before Aaron even woke up, I packed my things, loaded my car, and left without a word. A few days later, I checked Craigslist again. The listing was back up, but now it had a different roommate's name attached. I never found out what was behind that locked door, and I never want to. I had just moved to a new city and needed some cheap furniture, so I turned to Craigslist. After a bit of scrolling, I found an amazing deal, a nearly brand new couch being sold for just $50. The post said the owner was moving and needed to get rid of it fast. I messaged the seller and he responded almost immediately. He said he was in a hurry to leave town and could even deliver the couch to me for free. That seemed too good to be true, but I didn't want to pass up the offer. That evening, a large white van pulled up outside my apartment complex. A man in his late 40s, dressed in an old hoodie and jeans, stepped out. He seemed friendly enough, smiling as he opened the back of the van to reveal the couch. But something felt off. For one, the couch looked different from the pictures. Dirtier, more worn. And the man kept glancing around like he was nervous. Still, I figured it was just my imagination. I helped him carry the couch up to my apartment, and once inside, he lingered in my doorway. "You live alone?" he asked casually, looking around. That sent a chill through me. Why would he ask that? I forced a smile and lied. "No, My boyfriend will be home soon. The man nodded slowly, as if he didn't quite believe me. Then, he handed me his phone. Hey, can you just put your number in here, in case you have any issues with the couch? I hesitated. Why would I need to call him about a couch? But I didn't want to seem rude, so I typed in a fake number and handed the phone back. He finally left, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. That night, I sat on the couch, watching TV, when I felt something weird. The cushions were oddly lumpy. I reached my hand between them and felt something crinkly. Plastic? Curious, I unzipped one of the cushions and stuck my hand inside. What I pulled out made my stomach drop. A bag full of photographs. They were all of women, different women, taken at different times. Some of them looked like they had no idea they were being photographed. Others looked terrified. My hands were shaking as I dumped the other cushions. More bags, more photos. Some even had writing on the back. Names, dates. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Did you find it? I didn't respond. I grabbed my keys and bolted out of my apartment, staying at a friend's place for the night. The next morning, I called the police. When they arrived, they took the couch and the bags of photos as evidence. I never heard from that man again. But to this day, I wonder, was I supposed to find those pictures, or was I supposed to be in them?